Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production featuring another hero spotlight. It's going to be like a mini hero spotlight. It is a young
Yeah,
hero
it's a good mini
featuring
hero.
Kayo the Berserker Runt. So we just recorded a series a little while back to showcase Kayo's kind of style, kind of blitz style,
Hmm.
in a best 2 out of 3 against Benji. And so we promised a bit of a spotlight on KO. Doesn't get enough credit apparently, and so I'm here with
Yeah.
Rob, my co-creator,
Yes.
co-compatriot, co-caster. I'm just
Hello.
mixing this shit up every video, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's going to be walking us through this KO deck, the lists
Yeah.
for which will be in the description. I'll be asking him some general kind of questions about the hero as per our regular hero profile kind of videos, kind of see where he is in the meta, strength, weaknesses, key cards, things like that. You know, all the good stuff that you can intake, breathe in, and become the berserker yourself and go
Yeah.
smash some people's hopes and dreams in blitz tournaments, especially for the upcoming skirmish season. And
Yeah.
so with that, we're coming into KO. And is there a particular aspect of KO that drew you to him, Rob? Was there like something that you were just like, holy shit, I can't stop playing this hero. It's
Yeah.
just unbelievably fun.
What I love about this hero is you can turn like a 2 card hand into 12 damage, right?
I've seen this.
It feel you've seen this firsthand. I mean, what's beautiful about this hero is you're able to block out with 2 cards or 3 if you have an arsenal, and just kind of you know just kind of get lucky, right? There's a huge, obviously this is probably the most RNG class or hero, sorry, there is in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to either double or half, the variance is insane. You can kind of go from obviously 12 damage to 3 damage if you're unlucky. So you know if you keep rolling 1 to 4, 3 or 4 times in a row, you just lose the game. But
Mm-hmm.
if you get lucky on a turn that really matters, you just blow the game out. So I think there's just like that excitement factor to it. You kind of don't know what to expect when you're playing this hero.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool about Everfest is it introduced kind of more stability, or more a way to reduce the variance in a way,
I like how you
because you have
say
ready to roll.
introduces more stability on a KO deck. Lol.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very negligible amount, but it's still
Yeah.
there. And if you kind of play to that, you have a pretty nice strategy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
fair. I know this list we just kind of grabbed off FabDB. I don't think either of us really changed it too much because it was already working decently well.
Hmm.
Uh, and kind of I want to look a little bit about the blitz meta. Of course, we're recording this in ProQuest season right now, so obviously not the top of everyone's mind. However, people might run back and be like, "Oh, KO might be a nice option if I just want to have fun during
Yeah.
skirmish and stuff like that." So, what did what kind of choices did KO get in Everfest that really kind of stood out to you as being like the more
Mhm.
competitive cards, or the cards that made him slightly higher tier, I guess, compared to before?
Yeah, I mean, the big one that everyone knows about is ready to roll,
Mm-hmm.
which is up here. This card allows you to roll every dice pretty much twice and take the best value.
Mm-hmm.
This works extremely well with scab skins, first of all. One thing I often do is whenever I draw ready to roll, or I store it in the arsenal, I play it at the beginning of my turn and
Mm-hmm.
roll scab skins.
Right.
Very unlikely that you're going to fail scab skins at that point. I don't think I've ever failed twice in a row for scab skins, so it's a very kind of reliable way of getting 2 action points.
Mm-hmm.
And so that card obviously is just like it makes the deck a lot better. And without it, I feel this deck would still be in the same position, if not maybe a little bit better than it was before Everfest. But there were a few other cards that kind of did improve the deck beyond Ready to Roll, and that kind of is in more the attack action kind of side of things. There is Swing Big. So
Mm-hmm.
Swing Big being the currently the best statted card that KO has access to.
Mm-hmm.
Before, all he had was maybe 7 attack with the Swing with Big Tree or whatever it's called, Smash
Yeah.
with Big Tree. That was probably the best. 7 attack was the highest he could get. Obviously, Reinhardt had the Alpha Rampage, but KO
Mm-hmm.
didn't have access to that. So the 8 damage is huge. Also, if you do have it, it still becomes 4. It still has more than 3 damage, which is nice. Everything else gave 3. This now gives 4. So a small little consideration there. But being able to swing for 2 for 16 if you double it is just astronomical. Guarantees damage goes through. The other cards would have been 12 damage, which you could block out with a full hand. At
Mm-hmm.
least this, you can't really block it out unless you have
Right.
armor.
That makes sense.
So that one is another big one. Another thing too is that you do want more go again in this deck. It's usually not enough to have a 5-card hand and just swing once with a 6 attack card, and then if you whiff that, all right, it's over, right? So we did get access now to a card called Wild Ride, and Wild Ride is kind of similar to Pulping. It allows you to potentially get go again, but it's a guaranteed go again. It's not dependent on how your opponent blocks. So Wild Ride was a card that was added to the deck as well. It allows you to swing twice per turn, which allows you to hopefully double one of the attacks and not with both, which happens. But if you do play Ready to Roll into 2 attacks, you're pretty likely to hit one of them. And it's often a good trade-off to, whiff one and double the other one. I think on average you're getting more damage overall if you whiff one and double the other one. So it does kind of give more power. I think 1.5 or however the math works out. But attacking twice, obviously, very good. So I think that's pretty much what Everfest introduced. That made the deck a lot better. I am running High Rollers. It's a fine card. It's kind of akin to barraging. But it could potentially, if you start off with Ready to Roll into Scab Skins and you roll a 5 or 6, I believe it's 4, 5, or 6 even. So you can then intimidate twice with one card. Exactly. So it has some really good potential on those blowout turns if you do save Ready to Roll. But
No, that makes sense. Everything else there looks pretty standard as far as like the brute staples. You have Bellows, you have Barraging, Massacre.
Yeah,
you got the red pummel for the memes, a couple energy
potions. The one pummel. The pummel's kind of funny because when Kayo halves the attack, it looks so not threatening. It's like so benign. You're like, 3 or 4 damage, all right, no problem. And then here's a pummel. And what's nice is that if you have the pummel, or if you're attacking with one action, one attack action, you often have the resources left over. Because most of the time you're just kind of block with a card, swing back with one attack, hopefully double it, but if not, it's okay. On the turn that you have it, you can pummel and actually get back some value on your whiffed attack. So it's kind of fun. I've used it a few times, and pummel works great in this deck. I forgot to mention Bear Fangs too. Bear Fangs is nice because it gives you the bonus after you've halved the attack. So you have the 6 goes to 3, but the +2 gets applied after. So it's a 5, and it's not so bad. It's based out of 6, goes for 5 if you whiff. Kind of nice.
No, that makes sense. I think definitely a lot of good tools in Everfest. Let's go quickly over the weapons and equipment. So Kayo still, I guess, running the claws. You have the Bellows out there. Is there any reason to run any other weapon in this kind of deck?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, the claws,
I would say claws.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, claws make the most sense because of Blood Rush.
Yeah, because he has the Blood Rush. He has it in the picture. He's using the damn claws. I mean, I don't know.
The thing is, the other weapons, it's a bit awkward because in KO, you're kind of looking often to swing with one card on average per turn and then just kind of save for your blowout turns. Pitching to swing with weapon kind of feels bad in this deck. So if you're going with like the what's the main weapon called? I forget. The Romping Club. Sorry. Yeah. So pitching to swing for 4, it's okay, but you'd rather play an attack action to hopefully get back some tempo in the game.
Yeah.
In this deck, you often lose tempo pretty fast. If you're whiffing like 2 or 3 times in a row, you'll lose tempo. So being able to, swinging at the weapon won't gain you tempo back. You really have to get one lucky hit, and then you could hopefully save up for a big turn. So I think the claws on that big turn matter a lot more than having like a constant 4 damage to the club.
That's fair. Peanut definitely agrees. And so with that, it is important to know that KO's ability only works on attack actions. So it's not going to double your claws, it's not going to double your club.
No.
So that is important to know. You got some reckless swings in there, kind of makes sense. I think that all kind of synergizes well. How about the equipment? So other than Scabskin Leathers, which is kind of self-explanatory.
It's a staple in the deck.
Is there I don't think Scabskins is as expensive as it used to be, probably around $40-$50 at this point, but
yeah, it's still around there. I mean, Reinhard got nothing for Everfest pretty much. Kayo got all the love in terms of the brute.
He got Reinhard does swing big, and he does like the rolling. I think Rolling Thunder Club is actually not bad, like making some efficient kind of taller attacks. But point is, like KO.
What I was trying to say, exactly. And the point is that Scabskins didn't go up that much because Reinhard didn't get that, much of a power spike really.
That's fair.
Compared to some other heroes. So
what about the let's move on to the chest, the arms, the headpiece. What are you running in this deck?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing to run is pretty much the skull cap. You want some armor just to sustain until you get lucky or a big kind of pivot turn. The gloves is the interesting slot because you can run a few things. The Gambler's Gloves is obviously what Kayo loved to run before Everfest. Still a decent pick. The other choice is Goliath Gauntlet. All of your attacks, cost
Two or higher.
cost 2 or higher pretty much. Yeah, you don't have any attacks here that cost less than 2, I believe. So that's always, a pick that you can do. The thing about Goliath Gauntlet is you have to use it before you attack. So you can't just like get lucky and then play Goliath Gauntlet. So you have to dedicate it or commit to it, which is why it's not as great. But the newest card that came out was Skullcrushers. And Skullcrushers is I have a very love-hate relationship with Skullcrushers. I think I play it anyway, just because it has the potential to be really good on the turns where you play Ready to Roll. For every dice roll you do, if you get a 5 or a 6, you get +1 damage to your attacks. Might be attack actions, I forget, but if you roll
I think
one...
I think it's everything. I think it's attacks also.
It might be everything. Yeah, okay, so it applies to the claws as well. So, but if you roll a 1, at that point, you destroy it immediately.
Yeah.
It's kind of... It really lends itself to that variance, the high variance of this deck, because if you play Ready to Roll, yes, you get 2 dice, but that also doubles the chance of you blowing up the Skullcrushers. So,
actually, funny story. LSS said no, that's not the case. So if you actually play Ready to Roll,
I miss?
Yeah, you actually, which is kind of funny because I put it in the comment on the KO gameplay video just to make sure people understood. Yeah, so
right. If you can explain that, that'd be good. Yeah.
So on one of the articles where LSS was explaining the rules for a lot of the Everfest cards, one of them was Ready to Roll and the interaction with the Skullcrushers, and the interaction is Ready to Roll ignores the lowest dice roll, and so even though you rolled a 1, you may ignore the lowest roll. So unless you rolled a double 1, unless you rolled 1 twice, it would not be breaking the Skullcrushers because ignore would take precedent over that, and so that interaction
over just rolling the dice, because the way it was, so the confusion was Skullcrusher says whenever you roll a 1, destroy it. So you're still kind of, if you play Ready to Roll, you are rolling twice.
Yeah, technicalities. But luckily,
it's a technicality.
They've cleared that up.
It's in the favor of this deck to ignore the lowest roll for sure. So that's good to hear, which actually I would say buffs Skullcrushers by quite a bit. It feels bad, obviously, to roll your Scab Skins turn 1 or something and then just break the Skullcrushers, which has happened to me before. So it makes you kind of more...
I've seen it happen before.
Exactly. So it makes you more wary of, rolling, pretty much. But it's got 1 block, and the key is really to block with it early because you never know when you're going to lose it. So it kind of encourages you to have 1 more armor to use it early on. It's nice, and then it can be pretty good. I mean, just the 1 extra damage, if you get it once, it's actually good enough. A lot of Varn pieces, I think, just buff by 1 and then destroy themselves. So
other than Goliath, but I think
Goliath,
is there
Goliath has no block, so
sure. So I guess the chess piece, I guess you run...
Tunic is pretty much one of the only choices you run in this deck.
Budget options, probably Barkbone Strapping would be your budget chess piece.
Right.
Your luckily Everfest did release a Skullcap for probably, I think it's going for around like 80, 90, $100, something like that. So it is a cheaper Skullcap if you want to run it. Any head replacements that you can see other than Skullcap? People don't want to pick up a Skullcap.
Yeah, I mean, Hope Merchant's Hood is okay too if you want to just kind of quickly get a mulligan. But I think the armor matters a lot in this deck. You are often just kind of holding out until you get a burst turn. So I would say Skullcap is pretty preferred, but you can definitely run the Hope Merchant's Hood. It really helps you get, a more resource efficient hand if you have something like good in Arsenal and you kind of like, this is the turn you really had to go off and you drew like 4 reds. Hope Merchants can matter a lot.
Fair enough. Okay, so we went over the deck, the equipment. Talk about kind of the strengths of the deck. What does KO kind of excel at? What is his main kind of game plan that he can kind of push forward in blitz matches?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously excels at bursting. So the thing about this deck is it's really nice to, you can kind of go toe to toe, block with 2 cards per turn, and then just like swing back unexpectedly for 12, which is awesome.
Swing big.
You can swing, but swing big for 16. So it really lends itself to a more mid-range strategy because you can do that. And on a 2-card hand, like even if you whiff something out of the world, your opponent will probably just keep his full hand or block with 1 card, and it's okay. But the ability to just kind of go really, really big on 1 turn is huge. And you can also kind of block along the way, block with 2 cards, save 1 card in your arsenal, and then just pivot like crazy. So I think KO has the highest potential potential damage in the game, pretty much.
Yeah, especially
No
in
other hero
Blitz
can
when
compete
it's
with it.
yeah, especially in Blitz where Kano would
Kano,
argue
I was
that.
thinking of when I was thinking of Kano, but
Kano can argue that, especially in Blitz. But I think
you might be
as
able
far
to,
as
yeah.
physical damage goes, I think KO and Kano. So the K A and O are definitely KO. It's
And
definitely you need both of those in it. I
um,
think
mm,
that makes a lot of sense, especially in Blitz where a format most heroes have. I mean, Valda has 21 life, but everybody has 20
yeah,
and under. Benji at 17, Kano at 15,
15, yeah.
KO is at 19. So definitely quite strong to be able to come
Mhm.
in with an average attack for 12. So it definitely kind of makes sense. What are
And
the sorry, do you have a couple more
I was gonna
strengths?
ask. I was gonna add. Sorry, the tail limb from limb that we're adding also in
Yeah.
this into this deck. So you have potential to quadruple your damage here in one
Hmm.
turn. So that's a
Yeah.
nice addition to the deck. You can also pitch it. It's obviously a good card to pitch, but on a 5 card hand, it's really nice to play this card. It feels really good, especially when you
Yeah.
play ready to roll.
Yeah, exactly. If you play ready to roll, I feel like it'd be like excellent. But a
Yeah,
lot of the times you
yeah,
probably need the resources to pitch anyways, so you're kind of in a bit of a tough spot
yeah.
because they're both like two of your blue cards you're then
They're both
using. Like
blue.
how many extras do you have?
Exactly, exactly.
So
Yeah,
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 if the stars align, it does make sense. If you run Tunic and then you get that Tunic counter or Hardened Cross Strap, even get that energy, that makes sense.
yeah,
As far as
yeah.
the
And we do run spots,
weaknesses,
so yeah.
yeah, and you run the epods too.
Yeah,
That's true. So as far as the weaknesses goes, I mean, right off the bat, a lot of the cards don't block. Right, Swing with Big Tree,
yeah. It's true. We have
Wild
Wild
Ride,
Ride.
Bear Fangs. A lot of them block
Yeah,
for nothing. Pulping
it's
blocks for
true.
nothing too, if I recall.
You are right. Yeah, yeah. Hoping
Tear
as
Limb
well.
from Limb. I think Tear Limb from Limb
Yeah,
also blocks
you're
for
right.
0. So there's
That's
a
at least
lot of
8
block
cards.
zeros. Now a lot of like about a quarter of the
At
deck is
least
block
10.
0. There are some
Yeah.
decent block 3s which you don't really want to block with, but I guess there are. So that's kind of a glaring Epot too. I guess that's a bit
Yeah.
of a glaring weakness to me.
12 cards don't block here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are there any kind of other weaknesses that people should know about before picking up this deck?
I mean,
If you don't like to roll, don't play the deck.
if you have a weak heart, don't
If your doctor has prescribed you
has
KO,
prescribed you. Yeah, anxiety. If you have anxiety, I would say that
talk to your doctor about KO today. No, I'm just
KO go away. KO away.
KO away.
Speaking to some of the matches I've played yesterday against
KO.
Kano,
Yeah.
it's very hard to come back with this deck if you're rolling poorly.
Hmm.
So I would say that when you are on the back foot, it's pretty difficult to come back if you are not lucky. You rely on hitting a 5 or a 6 on a 2 card hand to come back into the game. That's pretty much the reality of this deck.
So you're telling me to just bring weighted dice. That's what you're trying to tell
Loaded
me.
dice. Oh, you don't play with loaded dice all the time?
I know you do. No. Okay.
Of course, yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
another thing too is that on turn 1, I actually got Swing Big to double against a Kano, and I dealt 10 damage on turn 1, but I just couldn't come back in the game because I got unlucky with my rolls. So the thing is, you can't really determine if you're going to win or not. Like, even if you're ahead, if you roll badly, you just lose the game. It all comes down to his rolls, and there's really no way to determine whether or not you're ahead or not, really, because if you roll badly, it's over.
Yeah, you really do need your Raider rolls as soon as possible. Yeah.
As soon as possible, you have to get some major damage off. Hopefully, draw them in separate hands, like pretty much back to back, and then hopefully just close it out.
That makes sense. So
Blood Rush is pretty good too, but you want to draw pretty much a combination of these cards. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. As far as like the meta goes and KO's place in the meta, at least what it's going to end up shaking out to be, is probably a lot of Kasai. Good amount of Kano is what I've been seeing. Good amount of like aggro Viscerai decks are running around, and you have like kind of probably people will still play like the staples. They'll play Dorinthia, maybe some Ira, and a couple other decks here and there. Also, Kasai got some nice tools. Benji did get some nice tools. Also, it's probably going to see some Benjis coming out in force. How do you feel KO kind of sticks in the meta here? What are his good matchups, bad matchups, things to avoid? If your local meta runs X amount of this hero, just don't run it. Don't run KO kind of thing.
Right. I think KO is just a wild card that it's really hard to put him in one specific place. I would say he's probably near the middle to maybe middle high in that area there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's bad by any means. He's probably better than Datadol, just on average. I do think that he's pretty on toe to toe with Benji It basically comes down to who can get the damage off first between Benji and Kayo, because
Yeah,
Benji deals
damage.
unblockable damage, and Kayo in a sense is unblockable damage if you get really lucky.
I
So it's
think
like who
yeah,
gets luckier.
I think
Um,
KO is one of those heroes that really benefits from winning the role and going first. I think
that's true. Yeah,
along with Benji and some
yeah,
other heroes that do very difficult blocking damage, even Kano in some matchups. Not really, because a lot of times you want to go second anyways. But like going first for I think KO and Benji
mm,
are two of the most important uh,
yeah,
heroes to get it on, and so I think it really goes to show,
definitely.
especially when you like start doubling attacks turn one and you start to get your opponent to leak damage early. I think that
Yeah.
definitely matters there. But what about kind of like
Mhm.
how do you feel against maybe heroes with more armor and stuff like that?
More armor. So the thing about more armor is it delays your kind of your win con a little bit. You really got to make sure. So I would say the armor is definitely a weakness. It's a strength against KO. If KO faces a hero with a lot of armor, it's actually very hard to close out a game.
Right.
So I guess you're leaning more towards like Kasai with that question. I guess.
Kasai, I guess you could bring
Yeah.
Bravo, Volda, decks like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I kind of forgot about them in Blitz. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Dory's,
traditionally
Dorinthia.
pretty tough
Yeah.
for KO to close out a game with armor for sure. Um, yeah, because you really need to be able to get damage in and then put them on the back foot and finish them off. That's really how it works. Yeah, yeah, the armor is definitely a problem. I'll kind of change subject also to look at Kano as well, because I've pretty much lost to every Kano I played against with this deck. I
Kano is
would
a
say
problem. Yeah, no, that's
Kano's a
fair.
huge problem for this deck, and if Kano is kind of still going to be rampant as he always has been in Blitz, this deck can never take the top slot, which kind of sucks. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, there are a lot of decks nowadays that just destroy. Like Mech just still slams
yeah,
Kano way too hard. Prism's really good into Kano. There's a lot of good decks into Kano right now.
right.
So if they're able to
Yeah,
like bring down the amount of Kanos, I think KO can. Well, that's gonna be hella confusing. Can
yeah, I
definitely like
always
wreak some
mess them up.
havoc. Yeah, no, that's
And the thing
fair.
is, KO can never be great against any one hero. Like in the same way that Kano can be amazing against KO, or Dash can be amazing into Kano.
I got that
KO
right.
can never be amazing into a hero because
No,
it's
that's fair.
mostly RNG. Yeah.
That's fair. How last question I can think of here is how like expense wise, how expensive is this deck to build? Maybe if you're coming into the Blitz is usually a newer player format to begin with, and so if I'm a new player kind of coming in, what am I looking to like have to pay for this kind of deck to get in at like a
Mhm.
probably an average level to a slightly more competitive level, I guess, as far as competitive as KO goes, right? As you said, it's kind of you can win lose everything, but in a better
Yeah.
spot to win those matchups. What do you think?
I'll be blunt. KO is not very competitive, just for like because you're relying so much on RNG. He can't be competitive by nature, I feel. But I think so. Looking at cards that you have to have in the deck, I think Ready to Rule is a necessity. Um, he's a lot more consistent with that card, and you pretty much only go off when you have that card. So I think that that's a must. It's not expensive. It's probably like max $5 for the non foils, and then eventually, if Unlimited comes out, even cheaper. So it's a good it's a good thing that his key card really is very cheap. Scabskins, I'd say, are a very good card in the deck. For turns where you draw like two blues and two attacks with not that don't have go again, rolling Scabskins is kind of nice because you can attack twice and hopefully get one of them to double. So, and the armor is also really great. Also, on the turns where you play Ready to Roll, your Scabskins are pretty much going to give you an extra action point, almost guaranteed. So
That makes
Scabskins,
sense.
40, $50 there. And the other thing that I'd probably add on is Blood Rush Bellow. But that's a package you could swap out. If you don't want to run Blood Rush with the claws, you can probably play more attack action cards that hopefully have go again, and just play a Romping Club if you don't want to play the claws.
Yep.
Claws are obviously really cheap, so that's not an issue. But claws are only good because Blood Rush is in the deck.
Yep. No, that makes sense. That's the only
Yeah,
source of damage you can get without
but
having to roll for it.
yeah, I'll say the deck overall is pretty cheap. You don't need the Skull Cap, you don't need the Tunic. So other than that, yeah, it's a fairly cheap deck.
No, that makes sense. Anything else you
Yeah.
wanted to tell the viewers about this deck? Maybe what to look out for, how to play it, like key attack lines they should be like looking forward to smash the enemy with, or kind
Yeah.
of things like that?
I mean, hey, this deck is hella fun. So, probably the most fun I've had on a deck. I think I've said it before, but KO is just so much fun because you never know what's going to happen, right? It's always like a really fun moment for one player when you roll the dice. Either you whip and it's really sad for you and really happy for your opponent, or you double and it's fun for you. So I would say a lot of fun. The main strategy with this deck is really to get off. So ready to roll. You'd probably arsenal it as soon as you draw it. On a 4-card hand, just arsenal it. Attack once, hopefully double it. If not, just arsenal it, ready to roll, no problem. And then you want to have it in a turn where you also draw Blood Rush. So you can play your ready to roll. Roll Scabskins first, because why not? You're not gonna whiff that really. And then use the Tunic counter for a Blood Rush. Hopefully you got 4 cards that attack for 6. But if not, play out the cards that don't attack for 6 first. You can always play your Barragings right away. That's totally fine to play. The High Roller, if you did roll 4, 5, or 6 on Scabskins, you can then play a High Roller, Intimidate twice, and then go into your Blood Rush to guarantee the draw 2. You can then claw, if you have some resources left over. If you pitched a blue for your Blood Rush, you have probably 2 resources left over. You can swing for claw. You can obviously add in some of the go again attacks that we have. The Pulpings, the Wild Ride. Yeah, the go again cards are great. So ideally, you want to get a turn like that, and then because ready to roll is in play, you pretty much guaranteed one of your attacks will double. I've had a few turns where it didn't happen. I've halved twice, which really sucked. But the nice thing about Blood Rush is it kind of mitigates some of that loss. So your 6 attacks become 5 pretty much if you have. Not the end of the world. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're looking for. And the nice thing too is that there are a lot of cards in this deck that draw and discard. I believe Pulping, Bare Fangs, and Wild Ride. So if you do have a Beast Within, even better. You can maybe even swing 3 times in one turn if you get the resources right. So, and obviously Blood Rush discards 1.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about about the deck and how to play it and how to have fun with it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Appreciate you laying it all out there, literally and figuratively speaking here. So that was the KO hero profile. If you liked this content, maybe if you want to see more KO gameplay, I'm sure Rob would be happy to oblige you to see more of that KO gameplay. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to get notifications for all our content. Feel free to check out our Spotify and Twitter. As I do sometimes post early recordings of different kind of things. And with that, appreciate everyone for watching. Have a good night. See everyone next time.